Pressure doesn't destroy strong people. It reveals whether they were strong in the first place. The moment you learn to control yourself, when everything around you is falling apart, you become a person that circumstances can no longer easily control. Pressure has a way of exposing the parts of you that comfort keeps hidden. When life becomes chaotic, your real level of emotional control is revealed. But what if pressure isn't your enemy? What if it is the training ground that can make you calmer, wiser, and almost impossible to break? There is a version of you that only appears when life becomes difficult. You may not have met that version yet because comfort has never demanded it from you. But pressure will. Pressure reveals how much of your peace actually belongs to you. It reveals whether your confidence is real or dependent on circumstances. It reveals whether you can think clearly when everyone around you is losing control. And most importantly, pressure shows you exactly where you still give other people, problems, and situations the power to control your mind. Think about the last time everything seemed to happen at once. Maybe your work became overwhelming. Someone you trusted disappointed you. Money became tight. A relationship became uncertain. Someone criticized you when you were already struggling. You had responsibilities waiting for you, messages you did not want to answer, decisions you did not feel ready to make, and somehow you were expected to remain calm through all of it. And in those moments, your first instinct may be to fight the situation mentally. You replay conversations. You imagine everything going wrong. You wonder what other people are thinking. You become angry about things you cannot change and anxious about things that have not even happened. The pressure itself becomes only half of the problem. The other half is the story your mind creates around it. Blend. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes more than an ancient idea. It becomes a way of living. The Stoics did not teach that life would become easy. They taught something much more valuable. You can become difficult to destroy. There will always be pressure. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be people who misunderstand you, disappoint you, criticize you, reject you, or try to provoke a reaction from you. You cannot remove all of that from life, but you can decide what happens inside you when it arrives. Imagine two people receiving the same bad news. One immediately panics. His thoughts race ahead of reality. He starts imagining the worst possible. He sends angry messages, makes impulsive decisions, and spends the entire night fighting a future that has not happened. The other person feels the same fear, but he pauses, he breathes. He asks himself, what is actually happening right now? Not what might happen, not what someone could do, not what the worst-case scenario looks like. What is happening right now? That small difference changes everything. The second person has not removed the pressure. He has created space between the pressure and his response. And that space is strength. Epictetus repeatedly emphasized the importance of distinguishing what is within our control from what is not. You may not control another person's behavior. You may not control whether someone respects you. You may not control the economy, the weather, the past, or the opinions people have about you. You may not even control whether tomorrow brings good news or bad news, but you can work on your judgment. Use your response. You can decide whether you will turn a difficult moment into an excuse for losing yourself. That is where pressure begins to change you. When you stop demanding that life behave according to your expectations, you become harder to shake. You stop wasting your energy asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what can I do with what is happening? That question is powerful because it moves your attention from helplessness to responsibility. Consider someone who loses a job unexpectedly. Next, the first reaction might be humiliation. What will people think of me? How could this happen? What am I going to do now? Those thoughts are understandable, but if they become your permanent mental environment, they will consume the energy you need to rebuild. A stronger response sounds different. This happened. I cannot reverse it today. What can I learn? What can I improve? Who can I contact? What is the next useful action? The situation has not changed yet, but the person's relationship with the situation has changed completely. That is Stoic strength. And there is something important to understand. Mastering pressure does not mean becoming emotionless. And you can feel fear and still act with courage. You can feel anger and still choose your words carefully. You can feel disappointment without allowing it to destroy your self-respect. You can feel pressure without becoming controlled by it. Emotions are information. They are not always instructions. Tamja, if someone insults you, anger may appear immediately, but anger does not automatically deserve the steering wheel. If someone ignores you, insecurity may appear, but insecurity does not need to determine your next decision. If something goes wrong, fear may appear, but fear does not have to write the ending of the story. This distinction is one of the most important forms of emotional maturity. You do not need to eliminate every emotion. You need to stop handing every emotion authority over your behavior. Think about how often people make permanent decisions during temporary emotional storms. They quit because they are frustrated. They send messages because they are angry. They end relationships because they feel rejected in one moment. They say things they cannot take back because pressure convinced them. That immediate expression was more important than long-term consequences. Then, when the emotion passes, they are left dealing with the damage. A Stoic approach creates a pause. Dawn the end. Not because you are weak, because you understand the cost of reacting without thinking. Marcus Aurelius lived through war, political conflict, personal loss, illness, and enormous responsibility. Yet the lesson associated with his philosophy was not that difficult circumstances disappear. It was that the mind can remain disciplined even when circumstances are chaotic. Pressure has a way of exposing the parts of you that comfort keeps hidden. When life becomes chaotic, your real level of emotional control is revealed. But what if pressure isn't something you need to fear? What if it is the training ground that can make you calmer, wiser, and almost impossible to shake? Think about the moments when life feels like too much. You might be sitting in an office, staring at an email you don't know how to answer. You might be dealing with a difficult relationship, financial pressure, family expectations, social judgment, career uncertainty, or questions about your future. The circumstances may be different, but the psychological challenge is often the same. Pressure enters your life, and suddenly your mind begins creating problems that haven't even happened yet. Then you imagine every possible outcome. You replay conversations. You worry about what someone thinks of you. You wonder whether your decision will fail. You try to predict tomorrow before tomorrow has even arrived. And slowly the original problem becomes only one part of the burden. The rest is created by your resistance to uncertainty. You want everyone to understand you. You want people to treat you fairly. You want your plans to work exactly as expected. You want certainty before making a decision. You want guarantees that nothing will go wrong. But life does not provide those guarantees. The sooner you accept that, the calmer your mind can become. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means seeing reality clearly enough to respond intelligently. Plemges, there is a powerful difference between saying, I cannot control this, so nothing matters, and saying, I cannot control this, so I will focus my energy on what I can control. The first creates helplessness, the second creates strength. Seneca often emphasized preparing the mind for uncertainty and difficult circumstances. The purpose was not to become negative about life. It was to become less shocked when life failed to follow your plans. Blaines, if you understand that disappointment is possible, disappointment does not have to completely destabilize you. If you understand that people can change, you will not be completely surprised when someone behaves differently from what you expected. Pendundi. If you understand that failure is part of attempting meaningful things, one failure does not have to become a judgment about your entire identity. Dend preparation creates resilience, and you can practice this resilience in ordinary moments. When something annoys you, do not react immediately. Give yourself a few seconds, breathe, ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? That simple pause can change everything. Bang. When someone criticizes you, separate useful information from unnecessary insult. Maybe there is something you can learn. Maybe there isn't. Either way, you do not need to surrender control of your emotions simply because someone else has an opinion. When your plans suddenly change, identify the next useful action instead of spending hours mentally arguing with reality. The situation has already happened. Your frustration cannot reverse it. Your next decision can still improve what happens from here. Trained. This is how pressure becomes training. Every difficult moment becomes an opportunity to practice staying composed. Leaned. Every uncomfortable conversation becomes a chance to practice emotional discipline. Every unexpected problem becomes an opportunity to practice clear thinking. Eventually, your relationship with discomfort begins to change. Most people spend their lives trying to escape discomfort as quickly as possible. They distract themselves, they complain. They blame someone, they search for constant entertainment, they avoid difficult conversations, they run from uncertainty. Danger. But if you never learn how to remain present during discomfort, discomfort will always control your behavior. The stronger person learns to stay present when things feel unpleasant. That does not mean enjoying difficulty. It means refusing to panic simply because something feels uncomfortable. You can be uncomfortable and still think. You can be afraid and still move forward. You can be uncertain and still make a wise decision. You can receive criticism and still know your worth. You can feel pressure without allowing pressure to decide who you become. That is real emotional strength. There will also be moments when pressure comes through another person. Someone may know exactly which words irritate you. They may criticize you in front of others. They may attempt to make you feel insecure. They may compare you with someone else. They may question your value because they want you to seek their approval. But remember this, a person can only strongly influence your behavior when you repeatedly hand them control of your reaction. The moment you stop giving them the response they are looking for, something changes. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need. If this message gave you a new perspective on life, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Daily Stoic Dose. Engines here. We don't just talk about Stoic wisdom, we use it to build a calmer mind, stronger character, and a more disciplined life. So if you're ready to become stronger from the inside out, join the Daily Stoic Dose community. Subscribe now and remember, control your mind, master your response, and become the person life cannot easily shake.